Hey everyone, it's Jonathan from Motorpsychology. Thanks for dropping by from wherever you may be watching this video in the world. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back, greatly appreciated. And also if you are a new viewer, welcome, and I hope you stick around to watch all the videos that I produce. So anyway, in this video, it's going to be the changing of the valve cover or rocker cover gaskets on this 350 Chevy small block engine. And if you have one of these C3 cars, whatever you see here is going to be directly applicable to your vehicle as well. So let's jump into this video and see how it goes, see if I have any problems or challenges along the way. Who knows? Let's get into it. So here we are looking down into the engine bay of this C3. So we're going to be removing this rocker cover here and the one on the other side over there as well. Before I do that, I've got to take this off again, and that'll give me easy access in here. So I didn't really put this on too tight after I did the other work on it. So this will be very easy to get off, I hope. There we go, almost. Oh, there we go. Let's snag up on here. There we go. Take that off. There, it's all pretty accessible right now. Let's start working on this one first. So for each one of these rocker covers, there's 4 small bolts, and they are located down here and on the other side, and the same over here and over there as well. So to get these off, you got to get those little tiny bolts off, which is not too hard, but I'm hoping that I don't have to remove any additional stuff here, but we'll see. So it's a 7/16, and obviously not on very tight. Let's get that started. Can probably unwind it with my finger. Okay, that's what we're working on down there. There's 4 of those little bolts with the little, I don't know, almost looks like a bow tie or a wing that's keeping that on. So 3 more to get off, and then we'll pry this rocker cover off and we'll see what we have. There's the ongoing work with this car. And let's get back down in here. All right, let's get this one out. Not easy to get out. There we go. There's the 2 parts, the bolt and the little tie down thingy. Easy to see which is the right side. This one is not finished. Well, it's finished, but it's rough. This is smooth on that side, so you know what side to put down. So I'm going to remove the next 2, and then we're going to try and pry this thing off. Okay, we're down on this one. This guy off. Got that one off. This one is, oh my goodness. Time to get my magnet. Anyway, got that one out. Gonna use my magnet for the next ones. Here's the left-hand side. I still have to get down there and do those ones. And you can clearly see on the top where they need to come out as well. So that should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to do that now. Okay, let's do this one first since it's so easy to get at. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with these bolts here. Some tops are 1/2 inch and some are 7/16, so that's crazy. There's that one out. And now we're over at this one. Looks like another 1/2 inch. Not very tight. And when I do tighten them up, I'll give you guys all the right torque values for these things, which is actually pretty light. The last thing you want to do is bend these valve covers. And I will check them before I put them back in to make sure that they're nice and straight. And I'll show you how to do that. Use this thing here. It's a great tool, a little magnet on the end. Very strong magnet. Help you get those things out without them dropping down. Fit in tight spots and allow you to get them out. Now I'm way down in this small area here. That's a very precise spot for this to go in. I don't know if you guys can see that here. So yeah, that's a tight little spot down there, which is kind of cool. I like that. All right. It's probably out, pretty close. This one I will need the magnet for sure. Okay. Let's try the magnet out. That's not going to reach in there yet. It's sticking to everything but the wrong part. Okay, let's try some needle nose. Be very careful not to let it slip. There we go. Got that guy out. And hopefully I can get this little piece of metal out too. Huh. There we go. Got that one out too. That's a tight fit. Nice to know my sockets must be regulation size to fit through here. All right. Time for the needle nose. There, we got that one out, which is good. And now for this little guy. Oh, there we go. That's all these guys out for now. That screw out this thing here. So use my magnetic thing to pick these ones up. That is by far the easiest way if you can fit it in there. All right, time to take these valve covers off. So normally these aren't too difficult to take off, and I can see with this one it's not going to be hard either. Just took the bolts out and it's not even stuck down, which means the gasket's probably stuck to the block, which could be a pain in the butt. We'll see. I would like to get it out that way because it's not going to go that way, so we'll see how it goes. Convenient handle. I knew this would be a pain. I knew it. Getting there. Let's pull this guy off temporarily. It's going to slide down a bit, and we pretty much have it here. Almost. Why? What? Okay, we're going to take this thing off. Just get that out of the way because it's binding up on that thing. So let's get that thing off. Got to get this air conditioner support out of the way. Shouldn't be hard. Famous. Yeah, that's friggin' on there. All right, time for a little bit of penetrant and a breaker bar. Put a little squirt in there. And one on this side. Wait a few minutes for that to soak in. Back with the breaker bar. Didn't let this wait too long, so we'll see. Yeah, got it, no problem. Here we go. Stuff works quickly. Hopefully that's enough. Please come out now. Almost. This thing is a pain in the butt. There we go. There's the inside of the valve cover. Looks pretty good. I'll clean this thing up before putting it back on. Let's have a look down and check out the rockers and valves. All right, looking down into the right side of the engine here, and you can see that old gasket. Oh my God. You can see that old gasket down there, and it definitely needs to be changed. I don't know if you guys can see that down there. Let me get closer. Check that out. Ew. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Anyway, totally glad I'm changing this up. So it's just going to be a matter of peeling it off and seeing what the surface is like underneath. Okay, let's pull this off. Oh, thankfully, it's coming off relatively easy. Man, that looks like burnt toast. Well, not like burnt toast, but it's brittle and not good. So the rest should be pretty easy to just take off here. Holy crap. That's nuts. Okay, back on this side. This one is not loose as the other one. Let's see if I can wiggle it loose. There we go. Half of it loose anyway. There we go. Now it's going to be a matter of trying to slip this guy out. A bit easier than the other one. Or did I speak too soon? There we go. This one is out. Let's get the gasket off. Okay. So far, so good. This is in some weird condition. This one is less fun. That is so brittle. It's crazy. Looking good. Got just a couple spots to go. Are you gonna come off or gonna be a problem child? Oh, you're a good child. Thank you. There we go. Gaskets off. Looks pretty clean. No complaints. No complaints for such an old little engine here. So I'm going to blast some air in there just to blow out some of the gasket particles that are in there. Same on this side. This one's harder for me to see, so should get some stuff out. Just going to give these things a quick clean. They're not really too dirty, but just a quick degrease and clean. Coming off pretty good. Kind of scraping off any residue gasket sealer from the previous time this was on. This is the surface that you would put the gasket sealant on, the RTV, not on the engine block side. It's getting there. I'll use some acetone or something to get the rest of the stuff off. Well, here's where I am right now with this. As you've seen, I've got these all cleaned up. They look great. Happy to put those back on. Same with this one. I'm going to use this product here, which is Ultra Black. It's specifically made for these type of gaskets. like your oil pan or your valve cover gasket. So I'm going to use that. It's a very reliable product. What you need this most for is a sealant. It acts almost as an adhesive for the gasket to stick to the valve cover as you slide it in. So that's what I'm going to do, and I just want to show you something before I do that. So before putting these back on, you want to make sure that the edge is totally flat. So any twists or bends in it are not going to work out very well as far as the sealant. So a good way to check is use a straight edge and check it out. So let's see how these are. Not checked this before, so it's a surprise. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys can see that. So see how it bends down there? There's a little gap on the far right. So I'm going to try and figure that out. There's same on this point here, a gap, and a little bit of a gap there. Let's go check the other one. That one is a little bit closer. Not too bad. It's pretty good. That one's closest to how you want it to be. Minimal gap in between those. So what happens to make them not level is when people tighten down on these areas, they'll often bow it out slightly here and bow it out slightly there. So it has to be kind of hammered back in, and I've got a bunch of body hammers and some dollies, so I'm going to try and make sure I get this a little bit more level than what we see here. Okay, I'm going to use this anvil as far as having a flat surface and tap down the bolt areas of the valve covers. So I'm going to use one of the body shaping hammers and kind of just run that along the side and tap it down so it's flush along the way. And I'm just tapping it quite lightly actually to get that in place. Still a little bit high where the bolt goes in, and that is throwing the entire thing off. So I'm also going to bend these little parts in so they're straight, and that should be it. Ow! Who would have thought? Damn. Wasn't expecting that injury. Nice. A little bit of skin on there. Whew. That would have been a better way of doing it. There, that looks pretty good. Better than my hand. But there's something to be said about, you know what, blood, sweat, and tears into these cars. For sure. All right, these things are basically good to go on that side. That's a lot flatter, as you can see. And that's what you're looking for. That's not too bad. Yeah, good enough. Time to clean that up. This one is all tapped out, good to go. So now they're basically ready to install. So here's the valve cover gasket or rocker cover gasket, depending on how you refer to it. It'll last a couple of years anyway because of the cork. Once the cork gets compressed, it'll hold the seal, but after a certain amount of time, this is going to be less flexible and harden up, and that's where you're going to get your oil leaks again. So I'm going to still put this in and plan on replacing it again in a couple of years with something else. All right. There we go. Not too bad. Let's see how they fit, more importantly. Not bad, not bad. They're a good fit for sure. So I will RTV them in there and then get them ready to go on. Definitely better than the other one. So I don't know. Cork. I'm sure I'll be replacing these things pretty soon. I think it's interesting on this one why they have this little dot here. I'm gonna try and figure that out. So they're, actually I know what they're for now. They hold the little bow tie things in place properly. So unfortunately, not all of the bow ties have a little pin that will stick in there. I know one does, but that's it. All right, I'm going to move over to the car here and make sure that I have the valve areas or the valve cover, rocker cover areas good to go. So let's head over there and get these things on. I'm just here in the engine bay of the C3 right now, just making sure that I've got a final inspection of the mating surfaces where the valve covers are going to go. I also checked out the rocker arms and they are good. There's no issues with that. They're nice and tight and ready to go as well. So here we are getting ready to prepare the surface to have the gasket on there. So before I do that, I want to make sure that I wipe down the valve cover with some acetone, and that will just create a better adhesion for the RTV when I get around to putting that on. So it's just a quick wipe around. Sometimes it can get some additional gasket material off if you have been unsuccessful getting all of it off, but by and large this is clean enough to put a new amount of RTV and the gasket on there. So that's what I'm getting ready to do right now. So it's going to be a repeat for the other valve cover, and this one is for the right side of the engine. The right side of the engine as if you're sitting in the driver's seat, but if you're working on it from the engine bay, this one is going to be on my left hand side. Just completing the final clean on this and putting away the acetone. As highlighted earlier on in the video, I'm using this Permatech Ultra Black Gasket Maker, or RTV. It's the one that's recommended to put on your gaskets, such as the valve cover gasket. So you can get one with a higher tack value, which could be useful because it helps keep the gasket on the valve cover as you rotate the valve cover towards putting it on the engine block. So that's the real value of having a high tack adhesive, or RTV. So this one is pretty normal tack and it's going to work fine in my situation. Here I am getting ready to put on the RTV. You want to make sure that you make a bead that's about 1/4 inch and run that along the entire surface of the valve cover. When you get to the holes, the places where the bolts go through, you want to go completely around the entire hole. That's a really important step in this entire process. From there, you just take your time and go around the entire valve cover surface area where the gasket is going to be mounted, and just try and make sure that you keep that bead roughly 1/4 inch, and that will give you just the right amount of RTV. So not too much that it's going to seep out all over the place, and not too little that it's not going to provide the sealing properties that you're looking for. So the recommended amount is 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to continue around this entire valve cover and get ready to put on the gasket and get this one on the car. Just about have this one finished. I'm just coming around the corner and going to be heading towards this last bolt hole here, circle around it and finish it off, and then I'll get set to put the actual cork gasket material on the valve cover. So let's get ready to do that. Both surfaces on this gasket are identical, so it doesn't really matter which way you put up or down, but I believe I put the side that had less of the black on it facing downwards to attach to the RTV, and that way I'm going to have this nice clean black surface to attach or mate with the engine block where the rocker arms are. So I'm just going around the perimeter here, just lightly pressing it in place to make sure that it has a contact with the RTV, and most important for me is that this valve cover gasket will stick to this valve cover when I turn it upside down to put it in. And here are the bolts and those little bow ties. When I took them off, I identified them and labeled them so that I knew what valve cover they originally came off. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but for me, I just wanted to keep things consistent, so I'm putting the same parts back in the same place where I took them off. So these have been degreased and cleaned, and they look pretty good. I'm not necessarily super happy with how small they are, but you know, at a later time I may get new valve covers and redo this thing with a little bit better type of fixtures there. I'm getting ready to put the valve cover gasket in, and a little bit of advanced preparation just makes this a little bit easier. So before I put the gasket material on, I kind of did a test run to make sure I could fit this valve cover back in, and what was going to be the easiest way to get this tricky placement of this valve cover in place without ripping up the gasket or getting all the RTV all over the place. So I knew that it was possible, but this is an extremely tight and careful fit, at least in my car, to get it in. After a little bit of careful positioning and trying to get this thing situated in the most accessible way that it's going to fit, I think that I finally have it in place. So it's just going to be a matter of tweaking it and then getting it down over the rockers. So I think I'm pretty much there with it. I knew it was going to be a super tight fit. If you look at the engine on the right hand side on the screen, that's going to be super straightforward because there's not any objects from the engine that are in the way of getting this cover on there. So I think I'm pretty close to getting this in, and then we can tighten it up. So getting close here, a little bit of wiggling around and it should fit in. So right now it's hanging up on the part of the carburetor that is right about mid-screen right now. So I just need to somehow tweak it through there. If you look closely, I just got it through and it's seated. So now I'm going to go grab the bolts and those bow ties and get this thing tightened up. I'm just going around the perimeter on the engine to get the bolts in there and the bow ties as well. So once I get all four in, I'm going to go around and torque them to the right specifications. Here's where we are at. We've got that one in loosely. The other one over here somewhere. That one's in, and that one. And moving over to here, we've got that one way down there. So now I'm just going to tighten them and let them sit for an hour, and then I'll be back to retorque. So once again, I'm referring to the Haynes manual, which is really useful for getting things like the torque specs and stuff like that out of it. So turning to the valve covers, or rocker covers as they refer to them as. Looking at the rocker arm cover, which is the same as the valve cover, on a small block it's 45 inch-pounds. So getting ready to torque these up, it's 45 inch-pounds, which is only 3.7 foot-pounds. So I'm going to use this tiny little torque wrench and get that done. So I'm going to set this up to 3.75 foot-pounds. So we're at 2.5 right now, so we want to add 1.25 on there. So let's turn that. There's 1.25. There you go. That's 3.75 foot-pounds, or 45 inch-pounds. Let's torque that up. And we'll move over to this one. One last thing to do, pop this guy in before I forget. There we go. Okay, there we are, looking at the 4 screws in there. The gasket's in there nicely, and this is set at 45 inch-pounds, or 3.75 foot-pounds. That is one done, and we still have to do the other side. All right, going to be putting the RTV on this one now. Same deal, about a 1/4 inch bead, and you got to go around the bolt holes as well. Oops. And then just kind of run along there. Nice. Going around the bolt holes is the hardest for sure. Let's get this going. All right, there we go. Put this away. Thanks so much. Time to put the gasket in. So place that in nicely. Line it up with the holes. Looks good. I think this side will be a lot easier. And the same with that, I've got the left side hardware. There we go. It's always a good idea to use something like this if you have it. It's just a magnetic parts container and it just helps keep everything together. Okay, so let's hope we got a bit of luck on this guy here. This is a really good time to see how that RTV has held that gasket in place on the valve cover. So you can see the light brown of the cork gasket sticking to the valve cover as I get ready to put this back on the engine. What's going on? Oops. There we go. So once again, using this guy here just to line them up. Let's try and put some in just to get some stabilization in there. Taking this guy here, making sure I get it the right way around. There we go. Put that in. Line this up. There we go. Got one in. Now I'm going to be looking for that guy down there. Should be lined up. That's a super tight spot down there. So I'm going to try and keep them together as one piece using that little bit of tape that's going to help me lower it into that spot, and then I'll be able to remove the tape. This is the hardest one of them all for sure. Need a little bit of luck here. Two top ones hand tightened. Hopefully they'll make getting the bottom ones in a little bit easier. The bottom is not too hard except for that one. All right, one last one to go. So here we are so far. These are just hand tightened, and I've got to wait an hour for the RTV to set up, and then I'll be in to torque these. Once again, it's 45 inch-pounds or 3.75 pounds. See that one in there? That is a super hard one to get. Okay, so we'll be back in an hour. So it's getting there. Got them both on. Looking good. Okay, we're ready to tighten these up to the torque specification for all of these, and then we're done. It's been an hour since I put the RTV in and put this down, so now it's just going to be about torquing it. And we'll move down here to the problem child one. Nice. Let's go up top. Down here. Now it's torqued. Now it's torqued in. And last but not least, and that one's torqued in, so quick check. There we go. Pop this guy in. There we go. Looking good. So that's the valve cover gaskets done. Thankfully. Be working on rebuilding this engine back up. Got lots left to do. Hey everyone, that concludes the video on doing the valve covers for the C3 Corvette. It's a 350 small block, obviously. So the valve cover gasket replacement is applicable to any vehicle out there that has a 350 Chevy engine in it. Hopefully for you guys, it'll be for a C3 Corvette as well. That concludes the video. Hopefully you guys found it useful. Thanks so much once again for sticking around and watching these videos and supporting this channel. We'll see you all in the next video, which is coming really, really soon.